beep, 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 beep. All right, cool, we're good. Today we'll be looking at, what, like 15? I think it's either 15 or 16 different mods that I've compiled together, all of which I feel like are essential mods for Subnautica. Not essential, how do I describe this? Like, they're not essential in the sense that it's like, oh, well, you needed these mods whenever you first played Subnautica, but if you wanted to have a modded playthrough of Subnautica, like a balanced modded playthrough of Subnautica, then these are some essential mods that I would most certainly recommend you get for said modded playthrough. A lot of them are relatively simple mods, but you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So without further ado, let's get to our first mod. Our first mod is going to be called the PDA Radio Mod. Now I'm hoping these mods all work as they're supposed to, because if not, then we might have to take some off. So what this mod does is it basically makes it to where you don't have to go to the radio to actually get the radio messages to pop up, you know, so because you know how whenever you're playing base game Subnautica, you have to wait on the radio to go off, and let me see if it doesn't.
This is Aurora. Distress signal received. Rescue operation will be dispatched to your location.
Now, you saw how the radio was flashing because that first initial? What was I about to say? That first initial message went off, yep, and that the other life pod thing just went off as well. So it basically makes it to where the radio messages will go off like in the game, but they'll go off without you having to go back to the radio and like interact with it or anything like that. It'll just go straight to your PDA, and then the radio will go off, and then you'll get, you know, whatever beacon there was associated with that radio message. So, you know, I got the first one just now, which was LifePod 13. Kind of just eliminates the use of having a radio. And if you're in a modded playthrough, then you've probably already beaten Subnautica. You don't need, like, you already know all these things. Look, the radio's going off again. You already know about all the LifePod signals and all that jazz, so it's not going to be as surprising. So you're probably going to want to just, you know, get the radio messages done and over with. And with this mod, you can do that without even having to interact with the radio. There is one downside with that mod, and that is the fact that it will sort of like advance the story automatically. Can be a potential downside to that mod if you don't want the story to like advance on its own and stuff. Oh, well, would you look at that? That'll just lead us into our next mod. So our next mod on this list is going to be the Time Capsule Scanner mod. So what this mod does, it does exactly what it sounds like. It just scans for time capsules whenever you're swimming around in the game. So the way this mod works is it's basically active at all times. Like, you don't have to like press anything or do anything like that. It's already on, like as I'm swimming around right now. So whenever you're swimming around in your regular game and whatnot, it'll be scanning for time capsules to pop up like around you. And whenever a time capsule does pop up, it'll pop up and notify you in the top left corner of your screen. So if I swim forward, okay, hold on, there's a time capsule. Look, there's literally a time capsule right there, but because it went off, we all saw it went off as I came over in this area, but I'm trying to demonstrate again. Okay, so it seems like whenever so you really have to be paying attention with this one. It'll help you find time capsules and such, but you do, like, as long as you're actively looking for them, you'll see the message pop up. But I think whenever the message pops up once, it'll show it for that specific time capsule, and then it won't pop up anymore if you go near that one again. Because that first time capsule we saw, you know, as I was outroing that other mod, we saw that time capsule notification pop up for that specific time capsule, but it didn't go off again, even though I like went away from it, came back. So, you know, because I found that one time capsule, got really lucky, and now my luck is just in the booty cheeks right now. All right, so our next mod is going to involve the Seaglide. It's going to be called the Seaglide's Upgrade Mod, or Seaglide Upgrades Mod. So what this mod does is it just makes it just adds upgrades to the Seaglide. So we have the new workbench called Remune's Workbench in our interior modules. So we're just gonna slap this down. It's a really cool looking modification station, basically. Sort of purple, it glows, all that good jazz. But you open the tools, Seaglides, and then we have all these different upgrades for the Seaglide. We have the battery swap upgrade, efficiency upgrade, speed upgrade, and we also have the boost upgrade, which is like Seaglide Sprint. And alongside the upgrades, you can actually upgrade like your Seaglide, the Seaglide itself, basically. So you can see you have the Seaglide Mark 1 right here, Seaglide Mark 2, Seaglide Mark 3, and each of them have different speed levels. This one has 15% more speed with 2 upgrade slots. Mark 2 has 4 upgrade slots with 25% speed, and then the Mark 3 one has 40% speed with 6 upgrade slots. And they all have different lights, which I find to be like super cool. So I'm gonna make it nighttime so we can see the difference in the lights. So this is the regular like base game Seaglide. I can't speak. This is the regular base game Seaglide light. You can see it sort of has, you know, it's really limited range. You know, it's only illuminating the area like directly in front of me. But if we turn on the other one, so I'm gonna pull out the Mark 1 Seaglide light, and you can see it illuminates all the way out there. So the lights on the upgraded Seaglides are a lot stronger. Then we got the Mark 1, Mark 2, and then Mark 3 light. And this is the regular Seaglide Speed, the base game one. This is Mark 1. Then we got Mark 2, and then Mark 3. I feel like the difference between speed is really noticeable when you hit Mark 2 and Mark 3. To access the upgrades for your Seaglide, dang, I can't speak, you press Y, and then it opens this like little menu right here, and then you can just switch the container, drag them in here. You can see efficiency upgrades in there. Now it says increasing power efficiency by 13%. Put the speed in there, 10%. Each of the speed upgrades increase it by 10%, and they all stack, so you can have an extra 60% speed upgrade in here. And if you combine that with the Mark 3 Seaglide, then you'll have 100% extra speed on this thing, which will make you absolutely zoom around. I'm at 60% right now, but you can see how fast I'm freaking moving. And they are sort of balanced to make as well, which is a plus because they are kind of expensive the higher upgrade you go. So if we look at tools, Seaglide Mark 1, you know, titanium wiring kit, blah blah blah. Mark 2, you need that computer chip, diamond, enamel glass, plus steel ingot, and then Mark 3. The recipes get more expensive as you know, increase the level on your Seaglide, as they should, because that makes it, you know, more balanced in the long run if you want to use it for an actual modded playthrough. But yeah, this is a cool little mod. I feel like I've been spending too much time on this one though, so we're gonna head to our next mod. All right, so our next mod is gonna involve the PDA again. And speaking of the PDA, look at the radio going off. But our next mod is gonna involve the PDA. So we're gonna open our PDA, and if we look on the far right hand side, we're gonna see a new tab over here. We see it right here. This is called the to-do list. So if we click on the to-do list category right here, we can see you can add a new item. You can clear completed items. So basically you can just add stuff to your Subnautica to-do list if you want. So let's say I wanted to, so now I've made my little to-do list for Subnautica. Literally all you do is just click on new item, and then you go to enter text and you just type in whatever, you hit enter, and then it'll just stay right there. You can hit the trash icon right here to get rid of any of your to-do list items, and then you can hit the check mark right here to sort of indicate like you've done this, this, and this. It's not that crazy. In fact, it's not crazy at all for a mod at least, but it is a nice little feature just to have, you know, in your PDA, to make it a little more immersive if you want. And it might even be a little satisfying, you know, to go through and check off each of the things you've done for the day, which is, you know, a sort of nice thing to be able to do. It's not anything too crazy, but it is a nice addition to a modded, you know, Subnautica playthrough. All right, so our next mod is going to involve lockers and storage in general with Subnautica. So I'm gonna put some stuff in this locker real quick. So this mod is called the Storage Info Mod, and what it does is it basically gives you, well, information about what storage thing you're looking at. So I got 4 lockers right here. Each of these lockers have items in them. So if I look up to this locker right here on the right, it's going to show us that we have 4 items in the locker, and it's not full yet. Okay, so now the locker is full, so now it's just going to say full, you know, because the locker is full of stuff and we can no longer put anything in it. But this is just a nice little mod to have, you know, again, for a modded playthrough, especially because it applies to all the lockers. Because the other mod, I was gonna do the visible locker mod. The thing about that mod is it only applies to this locker right here, so you would only be able to see what's in this locker. But with this mod, you can see what's in any locker, storage device, or anything like that. So our next mod is going to be one involving base building. It's a really simple mod. So this mod is called the Rotatable Ladders Mod. Literally all it does is it lets you rotate ladders. You wouldn't believe that in the regular game in Subnautica, you don't really have a choice when it comes to ladders placement and stuff. So let's say I was in the regular game of Subnautica, I wanted to have my ladder like this. You know, I sort of can't move it, even if it's in an inconvenient spot. So it's just gonna be right here. So at least with this mod, you know, you can actually move your ladder around. So if I just look at it and I press R, boom, 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 you know, you can move it around in case it's in the way. This mod will be able to help you a little bit as far as ladders go if you want to go vertically, because you can actually decide a little bit where you want the ladder to be positioned. All right, so our next mod is going to involve the Pathfinder tool, which is kind of odd because we don't really see that many mods revolving the Pathfinder tool. So this mod improves the Pathfinder tool by giving it like a fat arrow that basically shows you where you put your first one, and it also helps just sort of guide you back to your original Pathfinder node that you made, you know, so you don't get lost. So if I shoot one out, so after making a little bit of a line here, we can see that whenever you put your Pathfinder nodes down, it won't just connect them using like the small arrows that you already have in the base game, but they will also use these like giant lines to sort of direct, and the lines are actually arrows that point, you know, in the direction of the next Pathfinder node that'll eventually lead you back to the original one that you placed. It's just these, they light up. You'll see it in a few seconds actually. Yeah, they light up depending on which ones you put. Like each of the nodes light up showing like, hey, go this way and stuff. But it's like this mod just makes that entire process a lot easier to follow and keep up with. So that's all this mod really does. Not much else really to say about that. All right, so our next mod is also going to be a relatively simple one. This one is just called the Longer Signs mod. So literally all it does is it removes the character limit on the signs in Subnautica, because like on the regular signs right here, as we can see, there is a character limit as far as like how much you can actually put on the signs in the base game. So with this mod, you can just make your signs essentially however long you want. You can put however much stuff on them you want. So let's just do he. All right, so we got a really long sign here. It's stretching from this part of the base all the way over here. It just says he on it. That's literally it, but it looks like there's a bunch of e's on it. Stretching from that left side of the base to all the way to the right side through the multi-purpose room. And if we go outside, it's stretching outside as well. We have a sign, and you can also edit the sign outside, which is kind of funny. And we also have another part of the sign right here. Yeah, you sort of have to find the center. If you want to re-edit the sign, you sort of have to find the center of the sign where you like originally started to be able to do that, because I'm clicking on it all the way over here and you can see it like sort of flashes and then it just stops. So you sort of have to go back right in this little area right here, and now I can edit the sign again. All right, so our next mod is going to be the Enhanced Cuddlefish Mod. Now if the fish goes away from us, I should be seeing a marker. Yep, there we go. Okay, wait, hold on, don't go near me. I'm trying to demonstrate. Cuddlefish, back up for a few seconds. So whenever you hatch your cuddlefish, you know, release it, let it swim around and all that good stuff, it'll automatically put a beacon on the cuddlefish at all times, so you can actually see where it is, you know, and it can't get lost. And you can also see how much health it has, and it's a really good thing that it has a lot of health, because the creatures in this game can be quite rude for no reason. So this mod just lets you keep track of where your cuddlefish is, and given how small the actual fish is, I mean, this one, you know, they can be a little slippery. They can just like go in an area where they should not be at. So the next mod that we got on our list for today is going to be one of a community favorite mod, I think, and it's going to be the EasyCraft mod. So I got a bunch of titanium and a bunch of batteries in this locker right here, and we can see my inventory has absolutely nothing in it aside from this marble melon. I run over to this fabricator right here, and we look at the standard oxygen tank. We can see that it lets me craft based off of the 3 titanium that we have, but we don't have any in the inventory. And the reason it's letting me craft is because this titanium is sitting in this locker right here. So it basically just lets you craft based on the resources that you have like placed in lockers, storage units around your base, which is super convenient. It's way too convenient. It's so convenient, it's not even funny. Like, especially in a game like Subnautica, where there's a whole lot of base building, a whole lot of crafting going on. You want the crafting process to be as efficient, quick, and non-tedious as possible. So our next mod on this list is going to be called the Death Container Mod. So what this mod does is, if you have enough items on you to lose, you know, and drop your items, whenever you do die in the game, it'll automatically create a little container, and it'll also show you where you last died at right here. You know, I can actually see the specific coordinates. It puts a little beacon down and everything. So if I just swim over here, we will see that there's a little red container right here, death number 1. It also shows you, you know, what number death it is. Just open this container, and there are all my items. I can just grab all these, and then you could just pack up the death container like that. You just pick it up once you've picked up all your items out of the container, then you can pick it up like directly after. So if I just look at it now, I can just pack it up and pick it up. That way it's not like still floating on the screen and whatnot. The main thing is it shows you where you last died at, shows you coordinates, it drops all your items in that little container. All right, so our next mod, another really simple one. So this one is called the Blueprint Searchbar Mod. I'm hoping it works actually, because yep, there we go. Okay, so whenever we head over to our blueprints right here and our PDA, so just click up here, you will see there's a new little section up here, and it just says search for blueprints. So you just click on this and you just type in whatever you're looking for. So if I wanted to find let's say Cyclops, all the Cyclops stuff will pop up. And this does apply to modded items as well. So this is actually really good if you pair this mod with other mods that add a bunch of like items into the game, like the Decoration Mod, for example. That mod comes with a ton of new stuff that it adds to your game, especially in the blueprints category or tab or whatever. So it makes stuff just easier to search for, especially if you have a bunch of mods installed, because that can sort of fill up the PDA blueprint section, because I have a bunch of mods in here that add a bunch of new foods in here, and there's a lot of different foods in here. that I have to like scroll through just to get to the items that I actually want. For our next mod, you may have noticed it already, you might have not noticed it, but this is called the Color Tool Mod. So every time I've pulled out like a tool during this video, at least, it's all been like colored and stuff. As you can see, it's got like this blue color. So this mod just lets you recolor all the different tools in Subnautica. So if we head to our options, we can see the Color Tool Mod is right here. Now it does have a lot of different settings, but you can change every tool individually. So, you know, you can have your tools be each different colors if you want. So now we have a red little scanner right here. It looks really nice. You know, it's got that red and black color scheme. It does not change the color of the light though. The light color will stay the exact same. Will it change color whenever you drop it? It does. Okay, that's also really cool. You can change the color of your vehicles in the game, but you can't change the color of your tools or your base, which is kind of odd to me. All right, so our next mod is called the it's called the Custom Inventory Colors mod. So if we open our inventory right now, we can see a lot of the items have the same sort of background color, for aside from this like Creepvine seed cluster right here, which is like got that purple one. But all the other ones have the same like bluish color, which is not anything big or major, but it is kind of you know. So if we head over to our options with this mod installed, we scroll down, inventory customization color, we can change the color of basically all the different items in the game. So we have normal item color, we can change that from blue to, let's say, red. Exosuits are default purple. Air flora color is green. We can change that. Okay, so for this mod to actually like work and take effect, you sort of have to drop all the items that you have in your inventory, because if you don't and you try to change the colors, everything's gonna stay the exact same color. Boom, we can see it looks a lot more lively in here. You know, all the things are different colors. They look a lot more vibrant and such. You know, everything doesn't have that like blue backdrop color, which is kind of, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just a little like boring to look at. So this lets you, you know, spice it up a little bit by changing the background color of each of your different items. And it also helps you identify what item you're looking at a little bit easier, because you know instantly, like if you see the color red, then you know like, oh, I have that set to my resources, so I know red is resources, white can be like your tools, as it is in my case, you know, things of that nature. And our last mod for today's list of essential Subnautica mods to your Subnautica modded playthrough, you know, is going to be the De-Extinction Mod. So I'm sure you've been seeing like these random creatures that have been swimming around and all that jazz. The De-Extinction Mod is actually like all the creatures that are from the De-Extinction Mod were either cut from the regular game of Subnautica, or they were like a part of the concept art for Subnautica and did not make it into the overall game. So really, the de-extinction creatures sort of fit perfectly, and it can also function as like an expansion essentially to Subnautica, because a lot of these creatures can fit perfectly into this game because they were actually drawn up to potentially be put into the game. You know, you can see this big old version of the stalker right here in front of me. If I can move this map, we got this big old long version of the stalker right here, and these creatures do come with their own custom sounds. They spawn all across the different biomes in the game, so they fit perfectly. You know, they'll enhance virtually every aspect of the game aside from like the land, because the land is like the only thing where you won't see different creatures, because I don't think there's any like land creatures that get added. Oh no, I'm lying, because there are some flying creatures that do get added. Never mind. All the creatures that didn't make it into the game, and I just got ate by the Gulper Leviathan. Okay, like why did he do that? I have the damage turned off. Why is he? Oh. Now this one's actually one of my favorite de-extinction creatures in here. The freaking, I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's called the Pyrambasis. Pyrambasis. And there's a generous mix of like hostile creatures and ones that are just completely docile and don't attack. This one is, you know, one of those. This one actually doesn't attack. It sort of works like the Gasopod. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. I think this is the last mod that we had. All my mods actually worked for once, which is actually a freaking rare occurrence, because a lot of times I'll try and do these like bigger modding videos, have these mods on, and then like one of the mods I try to load up ends up not working, have to exclude it. But in this case, all the mods that I had actually worked, and these are all 2.0 mods. Some of these mods do have legacy versions of themselves, like this one right here, the De-Extinction Mod. I believe it does have a legacy version. All these mods work on 2.0, and I'm also running all these mods at the same time, and they all seem to work, you know, just fine. Bugs could arise at any moment, so just keep that in mind. You know, your mods could start conflicting with one another, but at least in my experience, doing this whole video, none of the mods like sort of messed with another mod or anything like that. They're all working perfectly fine, all on at the same time. But yeah, other than that, that is about all I had for y'all. Thank you for watching. If you agreed with certain parts of the video, you know, feel free to let me know. If you disagree with certain parts, certain mods that I put on here, also feel free to let me know. You know, we can have plenty of discussion about that in the comments, because I did something similar with my other larger modding video, and it was really interesting to see how many of the mods I put on the list, I believe it was the mods that I thought should have been in the base game of Subnautica. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting conversation going on in that comment section, because there was a bunch of people who were like, well, I feel like this mod shouldn't be in there, and then the reason behind that was actually a little more complex, and it was interesting to read. So, you know, feel free to let me know any of that good stuff, because I do like having those sorts of conversations. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.